A warm welcome once again to FutureScapes. Today we're going to talk about taxonomies, their future and where they're going, and what the present state of play is. There is no more authoritative person that we could have to talk about that than Ross Zaher. As many of you will know, Ross started his wand company in Denver, just to provide and meet a demand for industry taxonomies, and is our senior practitioner in the fine art of building taxonomies. Warm welcome to you, Ross.
David, thank you very much. Thanks for having me, and I appreciate your using the word senior, because I guess I am a senior now.
Yeah, we think we're all seniors now. certainly I am. But let's come to the genesis of wand, if we will, because I think that's an absolutely fascinating story and says a lot about how an industry demand for taxonomies grew up. Would you like to just start us off by giving us a little background there?
Yeah, a little background, and I've never told you this before, but in the 8th grade at Hill Junior High School here in Denver, I had a teacher named Helen Henry, and she offered a class in semantics. Okay, this launched, my interest in vocabularies and languages, so on and so on and so forth, how we tag things. It was fascinating. Okay, that launched my interest. In university, I studied philosophy, Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, how we organize knowledge. Mm-hmm. And of course, none of this is new. The Greek philosophers, the general, the specific, how we organize information. And after I graduated university, 1974, this will date me. I bought a camera store from my uncle, and it's a small camera store. And insurance adjusters would call us on the telephone and ask us questions like, "My insured has lost a Pentax camera. You guys are the experts. Can you tell me what the value is?" We'd ask the adjuster, "Do you know the model number?" The adjuster said, "No, call the insured." We called the insured. Sometimes they knew the model number, sometimes not. When they didn't, we would ask specification-based questions about their Pentax camera. Did it have a zoom lens? Did it have a flash? Did it have a this? Did it have a that? Based upon our resonant knowledge, we were able to identify the lost item and the like kind and quality replacement item. We called the adjuster back. The adjuster said, "God bless you. You've done all my work for me. The insured has replacement cost coverage. Instead of our sending the insured a check, why don't you send the insured the replacement camera? We'll send you the check." It began to become a business. The adjuster then said, "Can you do this for microwave ovens? Can you do this for televisions? Can you do this for sterling silver?" All the different types of products that would be on an insurance claims loss. We said, sure. We opened up franchises with all the manufacturers throughout the United States, and it became a global business, a nationwide business for us. In 1983, we had all of this information, all this data, all this product data, and we said, let's do something interesting. Let's create, a specification-based database, so that our salespeople would be able to input into the system, Mrs. Smith lost an RCA 35-inch color television, walnut finish, so on and so forth. So all the color televisions were in the database, and it would simply funnel down, to the correct ones. In 1983, that's when we developed the intelligent query database, very similar to what we see today with Amazon. And then in the subsequent years, we developed an application called VIA, Valuation Inventory Accounting, that we provided to the insurance industry. So we developed an expertise in taxonomy building. How do you describe something? How do you describe a product? In the year 2000, we sold our brick and mortar business. By that time, we'd grown to a $50 million business, doing our own importing, our own exporting, software development, so on and so forth. But we retained the enterprise taxonomy piece of it. So that's how we all got started. It's kind of a serendipitous way.
Well, I'm extremely grateful to Helen Henry. I think she did a great service there. And it remains a terrific story because it illustrates to me how the need for taxonomies grew out of the way in which business works. And to build a business from that, I know entailed very considerable effort, and WAND became a byword, I have to say, for taxonomical development. But look, it seems to me that we have a sort of active query. In fact, I had this from a software developer earlier this week. He said to me, well, the world won't need taxonomies because AI will produce them all. And actually, they'll be self-generating. And actually, they will become a part of what the machine does. But talking to you, that's not been your experience, has it? I would like just to explore that a little, if I may.
Yeah, the way we explain this, and AI, artificial intelligence, is a terrific marketing term. Big data was a terrific marketing term. Okay, marketing term. But if you look at much of the research, McKinsey research, for instance, of 100, 85% of all AI projects never go to production because they're very, very difficult. Very, very difficult, and you need a great practitioner. You need a great beginning metadata model is what we would suggest. But AI, it's a great marketing term, but practically speaking, if you talk to experts in this area, for AI, to fulfill the promise, of what what all of these expectations could be 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. It's very difficult.
So I infer from that if we're going to get up that launch pad of yours towards AI fulfillment, then attention to our knowledge structures now and in the future is going to remain a vital part of how we improve the output from our data.
Exactly correct. Exactly. The way that we explain AI is I have a 5-month-old granddaughter. Her parents are going to teach her knowledge models. They're going to teach her about shapes. They're going to teach her about numbers, the alphabet. She's going to go to school, knowledge models about geography, science, mathematics, on and on and on and on. And I say to you, David, I say to everybody that's listening in here today, think about how many knowledge models reside within your brain. With all of your experience, with all of your education. And this is what's called human intelligence. The AI engine, on the other hand, is empty. And if we ask the AI engine to analyze a corpus of environmental documents, then what we want to do, just like we provide a metadata model of colors, for the little child, we want to provide a metadata model of environmental terms to educate the AI engine as to what terms are important in the corpus of documents that the AI engine is going to be analyzing. Now, the AI engine is going to use that as a foundation model, to analyze that corpus, but the AI engine is going to find additional terms that it thinks are important, And that's where a human being, subject matter expert, is going to come in, look at those additional terms that aren't in the taxonomy, that aren't in the foundation metadata model, and decide, yep, this one goes here, this one goes here, this one goes here. This stack of terms that the AI engine thought were important, they're not. The AI engine made a mistake. So with the foundation metadata models, it educates, okay, the AI engine with terminology, okay, that is important in respect to whatever that corpus of documents is.
Okay, and I can readily see that if, as is increasingly the case, I mean, we're talking Outsell about data markets and about bringing data sets together and applying AI models to them. Of course, those data sets may have been prepared in totally different circumstances and not necessarily share the same taxonomic structures. So it does seem to me that you have to start with a taxonomy, a standard taxonomy to begin with, before you can begin to improve it. Would that be a suggestion that you would endorse?
Absolutely correct. If we, it's interesting, when we talk about just pure data, David, do you know what return on investment is?
I do.
Do you know what ROI is?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay. We both know that those are synonyms, but the AI engine doesn't know that. So we educate the AI engine, okay, with, human resources, human capital, personnel division, so on and so forth. We educate, okay, the AI engine, okay, with terminology, okay, synonyms, so we can identify what those data points are.
Yeah, absolutely. And then talk a little bit about how you prepare and maintain your taxonomies, and how AI can help you to improve those or add validated new terms to them.
Sure. Taxonomies are always changing. If we think about the IT terminology that we used 20 years ago, 40 years ago, okay, virtually none of the terminology in IT would be present in the current artificial intelligence, cryptography, okay, online, so on and so forth. So, just as a foundation basis, there's an ANSI Z39 THES standard for development, okay, of taxonomies, okay, which we've corresponded with since day one. We have Masters of Library Information Science professionals that develop the taxonomies, and on an ongoing rotational basis, depending upon the volatility of the domain of knowledge, we are updating them on an ongoing basis.
Right. And then you sell a taxonomy, and the user of that taxonomy then begins to improve it himself, or at least customize it.
Correct.
Is there a feedback loop here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. What we tell our customers, or actually what they tell us, is the foundation metadata models get them 85 to 90% of the way there. Every organization is going to need to do some customizations, and they tell us it saves them a tremendous amount of time. But okay, we'll hear feedback from our clients, and they'll say, hey, there's a gap here, there's a gap here, so on and so forth. And our professional MLIS taxonomists will fill that gap, and constantly, we're updating the taxonomies.
When we spoke prior to this conversation, you said something which really interested me, which was that you saw at the moment a climbing demand for taxonomical support, and that again, it seems to me, is counterintuitive to those who say the machine intelligence will answer all the demands of the machine.
What we're finding is that the technologies that are able to use the taxonomies, okay, has found, to inform the AI engine, so on and so, or whatever the application is. Those technologies are maturing to a point where the taxonomies become extremely valuable in making those applications much, much more efficient.
Yeah. And is that driven by a particular a particular demand in the marketplace, or is that a generalized reaction to many of the advances?
I'd say it's a generalized, generalized. What we would suggest, and it's an interesting quotation from Lou Platt, who was the CEO of Hewlett Packard, and he said, "If HP knew what HP knows, we would be 3 times more productive." And what Lou is saying is we have a tremendous amount of knowledge here at HP in our data. We have a tremendous amount of knowledge in our documents. But if we can't find our data, if we can't find our documents, that knowledge is fast asleep. So what we're seeing is there's a heightened awareness, quote unquote, digital transformation, so on and so forth. There's a heightened awareness that we need to be able to find our intellectual assets, our data, our documents, the knowledge that resides in those respective areas, so that people can quickly find it, can build upon it, not have to recreate it. So I think that this is one of the impetuses, okay, that's generating, greater interest.
Right. Describing things in this way makes, to my mind, what you're doing feel like a sort of booster rocket to the ascent of AI. That's interesting, but booster rockets fall away. Or do you yourself become an AI company? So the way in which you develop your taxonomies with all the expertise that you have, does that become supported by machine-generated intelligence itself?
Absolutely. Potentially, that's exactly correct. And that will enhance, the foundation models.
Yeah. Yes. But the world is full of standards in taxonomy. So the medical profession has a number of standards, and everybody else has played with variations to that. Officialdom is wonderful at creating patrolled territories around taxonomies, as if knowledge structures had to be guarded with barbed wire fences. Do you find this an impediment or a difficulty, or is it in fact a strength in that it gives you a bedrock mesh and things like that, a bedrock upon which to create more particularized taxonomic instruments?
I think there's some industry quote unquote standard taxonomies. In the medical profession, there's something called mesh.
Yeah,
and we do not compete with that at all because they have put so many resources into it. They've done a great job. But in other sectors, where there's quote unquote a standard, that standard is updated once every 3, 4, or 5 years, whether it needs to be updated or not. And generally, they're very bureaucratically addressed. And we would say that we are very, very nimble, very agile. We update, things are current pretty much all the time.
Okay. And scope, is there any area of human business activity, or indeed anything else, which your taxonomic structures don't cover?
We like to be able to say to clients, we have taxonomies that will address all of the domains of knowledge within your organization. If you're in automotive manufacturing, yes, you've got automotive, manufacturing documents, components, engineering documents, logistics documents. So we have taxonomies for all these areas I'm mentioning, workplace health and safety, environmental documents, accounting documents, facilities management, okay, vehicle management, so on and so forth. So there's about 26, we call them suites, a suite of taxonomies that will address all of the domains of knowledge within your organization. We format the taxonomies for about 110 different enterprise applications. Applications like SAS, like OpenText, Microsoft, Oracle, the list goes on and on and on. If there's a facility to use the taxonomies in those applications, we format the taxonomies for direct import. And that makes those applications much, much more effective and reduces the time for those applications to provide value for their clients.
Right. Ross, obviously we have completed our cycle, and we've talked a little about the future here. But I'd like you to have the final word about what sort of wand you see in 5 years' time, and what sort of information market it populates. Any comments you have, we'd be grateful for.
I think as technologies that are able to use the metadata models improve, there will be more and more use cases for the metadata models. Okay. Example, Internet of Things. Okay. I build, okay, an apartment building. Okay. And if I have sensors in that building, okay, I can optimize, okay, the data that's coming from those sensors to reduce my cost of operating that building. Maybe 5%, maybe 10%, so on and so on and so forth. Automotive sensors, as the technologies that are able to use and generate data, okay, and generate knowledge, okay, from systems, the taxonomies are structures, okay, that make sense and organize that information.
Okay, that's fascinating, because by coming back to Internet of Things, you remind us that the so-called data revolution is still closer to the beginning than to the end, and we have in the information industry an awful record when you consider that, having invented something, we have usually assumed that it's taken place long before it's half generated. So the digital revolution is certainly not over, and your comment on IoT very much demonstrates that.
I think it's just beginning. I think it's just beginning.
Yeah, yes, absolutely so. Ross, thank you very much for spending time with us today. From Miss Henry's classroom through to the camera shop and through to the future of knowledge structures. That's a marvelous voyage, and I know it will interest very, very many of our business users at Outsell, and we will stand back and think the foundations here were laid by people like you. Thank you very much indeed, Ross.
My pleasure. Thank you for taking time today, David.
Thank you.